Здравствуйте, чувате ли ме?
Да, здравейте.
Супер.
Всичко е наред.
Can everybody hear me? Fine. So I have the pleasure to start this webinar. Good evening, distinguished guests, dear Zontians. It is my pleasure to welcome you to our first District 30 webinar on the theme Zonta says no to cyber violence against women and girls. My name is Annette Di Rosa, and I have the honor to be the District 30 Advocacy Chair in this biennium. My special welcome and thanks go to the panelists, Sabine Voss, Zonta Club Baden-Baden, Doctor of Law and Attorney, Ingeborg Geier, Zonta Club of Vienna, and main representative of Zonta International at the UN in Vienna, Bistra Ilieva, Zonta Club Sofia, past area director, Area 05, advocacy representative, and Commissioner Vladimir Dimitrov, Bulgaria, National Cyber Security Coordinator at the General Directorate Combating Organized Crime. Welcome and thanks also to the technical team, Bistra Ilieva and Eva Petrova from the Zonta Club Sofia, and the translators, Tove Zenhäuser, Zonta Club Sion-Valais, Sophie Rickmann, Adriana Dowling, and Krasimir Paskulov. Before I start my introduction, I give the floor to Eva Petrova for a few technical details.
Thank you, Annette. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar on this such important topic. I believe it will be very useful for all of us. So just to clear everything up, especially for the interpretation for all of our viewers, you can listen to this webinar on 4 languages. Actually 5, English, German, French, Bulgarian, and Italian. By choosing the interpretation menu and just switching to the language you would like to listen to, you should also choose mute original audio so you don't hear the original audio and just the interpreters. If you have any questions or issues with interpretation, please send them over in the chat section so I can help out without introducing all of the webinar. And at the end, we will also give you some time to ask some questions, of course. You can do that in the Q&A section. We will read the questions out loud and just try to answer all of them. At the end of the webinar, we will also send a little poll with questions. So we'll be very thankful if you could answer them and just give us some feedback on the webinar. Thank you again, everyone, and good luck and enjoy.
Thank you very much, Eva. During our last District 30 conference in Alba, we heard our Zonta International Liaison International Director René Kopok talk about the new strategic plan 2023-2030 and the Zonta International Action Against Cybercrime becoming one of the main topics for the Zonta Says No campaign. But what does cybercrime really mean? And how does it affect the lives of women and girls? It refers to any act that is committed, assisted, aggravated, or amplified by the use of ICT or other digital tools, and that harms or disproportionately affects a person on the basis of gender. It can be carried out by individual perpetrators, organized group or institutions, all of which act with the objective of controlling, harming, silencing, or discrediting a woman or a group of women. Studies show that women who experience multiple and intersecting forms of discrimination are at a greater risk of being harassed, in particular LGBTQ plus persons, while women in the public eye are targeted to a much greater extent than men, especially politicians, journalists, and women human rights defenders. The threat covers a large variety of behaviors and impacts, the extent to which it has not been comprehensively measured, but results in physical, sexual, psychological, social, political, or economic harm or other infringements of rights and freedoms. It can significantly increase the risk of depression and suicide, especially among adolescent girls. It can result in women and girls having to change schools, employment, or housing. There is a continuum between physical and online gender-based violence, with technology often aggravating the level of surveillance, trafficking, or physical violence perpetrated. It forces women and girls to self-censor, deplatform, or reduce their interaction on online spaces, limiting their participation in public life and undermining democracy and human rights. A recent survey on women journalists from 125 countries found out that 73% of respondents had suffered harassment in some form. At this point of my introduction, may I remind you that Zonta International participated in the CSW 67 New York Summit last March. One of the two themes was innovation and technological change, education in the digital age. It was meant to enhance access to the digital world to women in order to promote their autonomy. The talks also revealed, of course, the dangers of such an evolution, saying that action was needed to prevent and eliminate technology-facilitated gender-based violence. I quote the Zonta International statement at the CSW 67. While ensuring women and girls have access to the internet and the educational and economic opportunity that it includes, it is vitally important that we ensure that they are able to do so safely. According to Plan International, 58% of girls and young women have been harassed or abused online, with 1 in 5 girls having left or significantly reduced use of a social media platform after being harassed. While younger women are more likely to experience online violence, according to the Economist Intelligence Unit report, nearly 9 in 10 women restrict their online activity due to the threat or fear of online violence, thereby limiting their access to employment, education, healthcare, and community resources, and widening the digital divide even further. End of quote. The UN Office on Drugs and Crime launched the Global Programme on Cybercrime. While its objectives are to increase institutional efficiency and effectiveness in the prevention, disruption, investigation, prosecution, and adjudication of cybercrime in line with human rights principles, this program underlines the general absence within the member states of, first of all, an understanding of the national threat picture and available capabilities. 2. Trained personnel. 3. Adequate equipment. 4. Relevant legislation or legislative guidance. 5. Functioning frameworks for the domestic and international cooperation. 6. Public awareness. Concluding this very bleak picture of the complexity of the subject, I will give the floor to Sabine Voss, who will give you the facts and figures within the countries having signed the Istanbul Convention. Sabine, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So, can you see my presentation, everybody?
Yes.
Yes, okay, then I'll start. Dear participants of our ZD30 webinar, I'm going to present you, I'll have a look. So, I'm going to present you the interesting content of a report of an interesting European agency. These are the starting points. Cyber violence against women and girls is not a private problem, but it's an integral part of the continuum of violence against women and girls, just like any other form of gender-based violence. So it is an intersectional form of violence with different patterns, levels of vulnerability and risk among specific groups of women and girls. I'm just working on getting my... Eva, could you tell me how I get the pictures of the participants away so they cover my text?
You can just move them to the side somewhere else.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, but they still.
You can completely hide them, unfortunately.
Yeah. There. Okay, fine. So, EIGE, this is the body of the European community, wanted to know more about it. So it started an in-depth investigation into the phenomenon of cyber violence and to examine how it affects women and girls specifically. This report was published on the 25th of November, 2022. That's interesting because normally the 25th of November is the start of our Sonntag Says No campaign. It resulted in a multi-method research carried out between July 2021 and February 2022 at 27 member states on an international and national level. And it identified how cyber violence is currently tackled at the European Union on international and national levels. By international level, I mean the conventions or the agreements on the level of the European Union. National levels, I mean the statutes of the member states. And they're putting systematic focus on current definitions, legislation, and politics. So perhaps now you're curious, what is EIGE? EIGE is the European Institute for Gender Equality. It's an autonomous body of the European Union. It is established to strengthen gender equality across the European Union. And here, please recognize, equality between women and men is a fundamental value of the European Union. And EIGE's task is to make this a reality in Europe and beyond. So it's really a European knowledge center. Please visit the website of EIGE Europe or follow it on social media. They're going to release another report on the 24th of October, so nobody of EIGE could participate today. And it's really very resourceful. You find fact sheets also for your upcoming Sonntag Says No campaigns. The institute is situated in Vilnius, Lithuania. So, what is the EIGE's emphasis? Cyber violence does not stop at the border of your country. The crimes of cyber violence, which affect women and girls, may be committed by an offender living in another country or using means which are situated in other countries. So, on the other hand, if you want to have legislation, you need definitions. You need definitions of harmful behavior via the means, ICT means. And only then, if you have the definitions, you are able to formulate statutes to do the legislation. So for EIGE, it's a real emphasis that we have harmonized definitions to enable harmonized legislation throughout the member states. This would make us, so one offender who lives in another country and do his crimes in another country, he will be prosecuted on the same level because each member state has the same legislation and definitions. So is this really so already? So they started to find out in their different tables whether it's already the situation in the countries or not. Here I have picked out the 5 EU member states of our district. North Macedonia, Monaco, and Switzerland are not yet member states, so they don't show up in these tables. From the first view, you could say, well, it's nearly everything is ticked off. So we have the first column is cyber violence is in the statutes considered a specific offense. So in the penal code, it would say cyber harassment, for instance. Or cyber violence is considered an aggravating circumstance. So if you do stalking, cyber stalking would mean an aggravating and bigger sentence, for instance. Or cyber violence is covered by the general offense. It's only said by the means, it can also be by the ICT means. Or cyber violence can be covered by general offenses with no reference because they are included already. So if we see this table, we could say, oh, everything fine. What do we need to do more? Well, we see in the second table. Here we see which sort of specific offenses Eige found during her research at member state level. And here we see differences. For instance, with cyber harassment, you only have specific offenses in Germany and in Romania. If we have online grooming in different countries, we still do not know, do they have the same definition? Are these laws comparable? So the next is the data collection. So now you say, why should the data collection be important? Well, laws are not made out of the blue. Lawmakers normally react to things going wrong in reality. In case of cyber violence, the new technical devices caused a different way to cause harm to women and girls. Before, in stalking, you had to present yourself in front of the house of the women. And now you're perhaps tracking her geodata and whatever. So we have a whole new situation, and therefore the data collection is very important to show which technical devices are there, which forms do harm to women and girls, and in which way, and which are the consequences to women and girls. So the data of these development has to be collected to give the lawmakers a base to work on. So we could say no data collection, no definitions. Without definitions, no statutes. That means no law, no crime, no prosecution, no punishment. The same here, without harmonized data collections in surveys, no evaluation of the situations are possible. And here we see that the data collection in our member states is not the same. Here we have no unification too. So the key findings of Eige are that the rules of inequality are still in our society. It's inbred in our society by the social inequality that still exists between men and women. Cyber violence exists on a continuum of gender-based violence perpetrated between the physical and the digital world. That's so important. It now swaps from the one side to the other side. And it exists on a continuum of gender-based violence, which is likely to result, whether it's digital or not, in physical, sexual, psychological, or economic harm or suffering to women and girls. Although men can be victims of cyber violence too, as the research showed, and women can be perpetrators, research indicated that women and girls are more likely to be affected by cyber violence and to suffer more greatly than men from its impacts. Digital forms of gender-based violence may be exacerbated by several factors such as disability, sexual orientation, political affiliation, religion, social origin, migration status, or even celebrity status. As we've seen before, available data is still scarce. So if we do not collect the data consistently, it's difficult to move forward concerning statutes, prosecution, punishment. So, because of the findings of EIGE, it is important to them to move forward. Based on the outcome of the research, they have drafted harmonized definitions for forms of cyber violence and cyber violence itself. The intention is to give the member states an idea of a harmonized definition so enable them to make harmonized legislation throughout the member states. So here we have cyber violence as an umbrella term for all forms of violence. And here are the important conditions, because it has to be a form of violence perpetrated by ICT means. ICT is information and communication technologies. This already varies between the different member states. ICT means, or they have other expressions. So here they choose perpetrated by ICT means, therefore cyber violence. Next condition, on the grounds of gender, or a combination of gender and other factors. And this is important too. It can start online, but continue offline, or start offline and continue online, and can be perpetrated by a person known or unknown to the victim. Now you will say, oh, these lawyers, all these details, can't you make it easier or better to be understood? No, because it's important. These details are first a sort of checklist to see whether you have all the details on all the important aspects of this form of violence collected. Secondly, if you miss out on one of these details, maybe the offender says at court, well, it's not covered by your law. So it is very important to make these statutes detailed and with the understanding of the process of the ICT means that will facilitate the lawmaking and the prosecution. So in the following, we have some of the definitions, harmonized definitions EIGE proposes to the member states. For instance, cyberstalking. I can recommend you, there are, by EIGE, I can put it into the chat too. They have the key concept and key terms in a sheet like this. There you find all the definitions. I left out, for instance, here, the conditions we named concerning cyber violence. They should all be concluded in this. So cyberstalking is an intentional repeated act against women or girls to harass, intimidate, persecute, spy, or establish unwanted communication or contact, engaging in harmful behaviors that makes the victim feel threatened, distressed, or unsafe in any way. You see, here again, it's important to have the details to show the consequences and the intentions of the offender. I just go through, you have the cyber harassment too, and you have the cyberbullying, which is more in the direction of minors or group of minors. And you have the hate speech, online gender-based hate speech, which is very important too in the context, and non-consensual intimate image abuse. So interesting, you have to see it can be obtained, the images or videos can be obtained non-consensually, manipulated non-consensually, but also if you have a friend at that time, it may be obtained consensually, but then distributed non-consensually. And a harmonized law definition should embrace all these things. So at this point, I would like to go from theory to reality, because this case of Eileen really made me think about cyber violence against women and girls. The 14-year-old schoolgirl was described as shy and withdrawn. She and the 30-year-old offender are said to have met via the internet and on an online game. Here you see the difference too. Before, you have to meet in the street. Now you have different ways of meeting, which are more unconspicuous. After the first contact, the offender's communication with the 14-year-old girl steadily increased. This was later detected by the police by evaluating the mobile phone, geodata, and chat history. And now you have to believe around 800 messages per day were written, with the perpetrator writing most of the messages. This 14-year-old girl was completely overwhelmed by the massive number of messages, which mostly had sexualized content. Well, as a 14-year-old girl, she had published herself sexualized content about herself via Snapchat messenger service. But as the police found out, Eileen had always resisted communicating with the offender when it came to real sex. The police evaluation clearly showed that Eileen had no interest at all becoming intimate with the perpetrator. Nevertheless, probably because of his immense pressure, a personal meeting took place. He picked her up at her hometown and drove with her for 300 kilometers to a forest. Here he is said to push her onto the bench and try to rape her. As he didn't succeed, he strangled her and then dumped the girl's body into a lake. So now back from reality to theory. The horrendous case of Eileen shows how important it is that the local authorities, like police, prosecution, and courts all over Europe, get the same legal framework to really successfully fight violence, cyber violence, and other forms of violence against women and girls in all forms. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Sabine, for your presentation. You give the perfect opening for our next speaker. And I have the pleasure to give the floor to Ingeborg Geier, Sonntagklubber Vienna, and as I said before, main representative to the United Nations in Vienna, who has been following in her capacity as main representative to the negotiations that should lead to a global international convention on cybercrime. Ingeborg, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Annette, for giving me the floor, and thank you, Sabine, to make so clear what I am now just saying in a very short notice, because the treaty is 48 pages long, and we don't know what will happen in the next few months. First of all, I have to say there is no consensus on the need of a UN treaty dealing with cybercrime. The consensus-based bodies dealing with cybercrime at the UN, primarily at the Commission on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice based in Vienna, could not agree on whether there was a need for a treaty, since the issue was first raised officially at the UN Crime Congress in 2010. And in 2019, it was taken to a vote at the UN General Assembly. The resolution starting the process towards a treaty was passed with minority support. With minority support due to a high number of abstentions. European countries' arguments against a new convention are that there is already the Budapest Convention and its protocol to the Council of Europe, which is a blueprint globally. It is a framework that permits hundreds of practitioners from parties to share experience and create relationships that facilitate cooperation in specific cases, including in emergency situations. The convention is similar to the US Cloud Act. Countries of the Global South have concerns about access to data and data protection provisions in these conventions, in this Budapest Convention and the US Cloud Act. So the polarization of the positions on the need for a treaty has translated into a polarization of views of how broad the treaty should be, with those countries that were in favor of a treaty calling for a broad range of cyber-enabled crimes to be included, as we heard already by Sabine, and those that were against the treaty calling for a narrowly focused treaty on cyber-dependent crimes. Since the convention is proposed to be dealing with the criminal aspects of the use of ICT networks, it will be very essential that the committee recognizes the importance of cyber legal frameworks at national levels. In this regard, globally, there is an absence of international cyber law in place. This policy vacuum on cyber law has prompted different countries to start coming up with their own distinctive national cyber laws. We have already seen a very good presentation about that. Globally speaking, different countries have different penal laws in their own respective jurisdictions. These penal laws are diverse, distinctive, and often do not have any universal color. In a scenario like this, the convention must also appreciate the role of national cybercrime laws, which are contributing in the fight against misuse of ICT for criminal purposes. It also must agree to a common language that is on the one hand precise regarding the crime offenses and on the other hand open for further technical development. For instance, the Budapest Treaty uses terminology like cybercrime, and now, as already mentioned by Sabine, the convention suggests to recommend the use of information and technology, communication technologies for criminal purposes, and so on. So I just presented some of them. And in the negotiations, you see that in nearly every paragraph, there are suggestions for new terminology. As concerning the human rights issues, balancing effective measures against cybercrime and human rights guarantees is a fundamental issue that needs to be resolved by this treaty negotiation process, and at the moment it is unclear how this will be accomplished. It is to ensure a treaty focused on a clear set of cyber-dependent crimes with adequate and clear human rights safeguards present throughout the treaty. In the absence of a digital rights treaty, this treaty has to provide those guarantees and safeguards. If a broad cooperation regime without adequate safeguards is established, there is a real risk that the treaty could be used by some states as a tool of oppression and suppression of activism, journalism, and other civil society activities that are vital in any effective crime response and prevention strategy. So the role of the civil society in the negotiation process for the treaty has been opened. Civil society can contribute to the process through an approach that does not allow states to veto individual CSOs. And by the way, EIGE is part of this process as well. There is space for civil society to bring in their contributions under each agenda item and through intersessional meetings where they can present and lead discussions with member states. This process is in some ways a model that other UN negotiations could follow as a best practice. CSOs, as well as the private sector, are bringing vital perspectives to the table on the potential impacts of proposals made in the treaty negotiations, on practical issues, on data protection, and on human rights fundamentally. CSOs are providing fact-checking and evidence to back up or challenge the arguments made by member states as proposals are made and potential compromises are discussed. There is progress and there are obstacles in the negotiations. The main obstacle has been the existence of quite fundamental differences in visions of the treaty, as I already said, from a broad treaty allowing for criminalization of and cooperation on a diverse range of offenses to a narrow treaty focused on cybercrime dependent crimes. So different objectives mean that the committee has so far lacked a common vision, which is what negotiations need to discover in the coming few months, as you see the time schedule here on my screen. And there is a gender perspective. There is a focus on the intersection of gender and cybersecurity, cybercrime in various sections of the treaty. As cybersecurity is a social issue and not a technical issue, cyberspace often reflects the biases that exist offline, one of the most pertinent being gender. For example, we need to acknowledge that different genders have different experiences of cybercrime. There are often gendered dimensions of different criminal acts. The provision in the treaty are under several sections and call on member states to establish policies and guidelines to tackle these issues on national level. There is no special reference to women, but there is a special article for children. But here we see there are only 3 references to gender. I just copied here, and you see this is just a provisional draft of the convention. So this might change, but I'm afraid there will be not much more about gender in this convention. We have also, but we have a lot of prevention measures. I just copied some of the points. You see it started with A and ended under, I don't know how long this list is, but these are the most important for women and children in this section, Article 53, preventive measures. To Article 13, the provision for offenses related to online child sexual abuse or child sexual exploitation material. This article is still under review and causes very time-consuming and controversial debates concerning terminology of online child abuse versus child pornography. Therefore, a catalogue of crimes is provided in Article 30, paragraph 2. And this is a part of this paragraph 2, where all these different definitions are collected, and you see at every time the convention or this document is under review, there are again new suggestions how to call on this. But most of this terminology is drawn from the child Children's Convention. But for the term of for the purpose of this article, the term child sexual abuse or child sexual exploitation material shall include material that depicts or represents a child or a person appearing to be a child. This is what Sabine already mentioned as well. So, and the term material shall include images, video and live streaming media, written material and audio recordings. A state party may require that the material identified in the paragraph before be limited to material that depicts, describes, or represents a real child, or visually depicts child sexual abuse or child sexual exploitation. There is also still a controversial debate about criminalization of children, especially the age to be held responsible for criminal acts of safe-generated material sent to friends, etc., as Sabine said. And what happens then when the friendship is broken? There is no consensus up to now about the age of criminalization, as there are so many national definitions and national legislation already, so that it's very difficult to harmonize this legislation in this overall convention. So in summarizing up, it is up to the negotiators from all sides and how far they are willing to move in order to achieve agreement, whether the treaty will have a meaningful impact on cybercrime, while also staying true to international human rights standards and the general human rights ethos of the UN. One option to put forward is to limit the scope of applications to the crimes in the treaty, but to open up the chapter on international cooperation. This would allow the exchange of electronic evidence for any crime committed using an ICT, for which the penalty is 3 years imprisonment. Also, the length of time is not yet agreed, or more, including offenses covered by the provisions of other UN treaties. You see, there is a lot to do, but this would be the optimal outcome. But given the current political atmosphere and challenges, it will be hard to get achieved until February 24. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ingeborg, for your presentation. Actually, it seems that it's very difficult to come to an agreement. In District 30, we have a very active and communicative team at the UN Geneva, but we rarely have the opportunity to hear what's going on in Vienna. And by the way, I want to greet our governor, Ivana Soroto, that I just saw that she joined us, and also 2 members of the Geneva team, Fabienne Moulin and Marinette Kellan-Berger. Marinette had to leave our webinar in between, but thank you for attending. I will now give the floor to Bistra Ilieva, Zonta Club of Sofia, who launched a very successful Zonta Says No to Violence Against Women and Girls program in her club, spreading it successfully out to the entire country and involving the authorities and schools at the highest levels. Bistra will lead you through the rest of the webinar. Bistra, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Annette. Dear Miss Annette de Roos, District 30 Advocacy Committee Chair, dear Zontian sisters, it is my honor to present to you today the project of Area 05, District 30, Zonta International. Zonta Says No to Cyber Violence Against Women and Children. 3 years ago, right after the year of the COVID-19 pandemic, we, the ladies of Area 05, realized that with one pandemic came another even more powerful one, that of cyber violence. The time we live close in our houses opened a new era in which we had to be even more active online. The world began to live there. And as a result, cybercrimes also began living there as well. We wanted to give a single outlook action, unit partners, and work actively for awareness and prevention against this pandemic. This how we decide to begin working on this project. The first task was to gather our partners and to expert for the gender directory of a combining organized crime specialist unit, our project's key partner. We are very proud that the Ministry of Education and Science of Bulgaria, as well as a number of international non-government organizations, are also supporting the cause, such as UNICEF, Soroptimis International, the Union of Bulgarian Teachers, the Center of Safe Internet, and others. The support of our partners and the strong union between us give us a strength, and as a result, we are working on the project together for the third year now. Our project patron is Miss Ileana Yotova, Vice President of Republic of Bulgaria. Today, she would like to greet you with a special video address. Let's hear.
Уважаеми участници в уебинара "Не на кибернасилието", поздравявам ви с провеждането на тази дискусия. Посветена е на проблем, който за съжаление става все по-дълбок и сякаш по-нерешим и опасен. Убедена съм, че това се доказва във всички статистики. Статистиките от вашите страни, чието представители ще се включат в днешния уебинар, организиран от ZD30 на Zonta International. Всеки от нас е потенциална жертва на кибернасилие. Тези престъпления засягат децата, жените, мъжете. Засягат всички нас и никой не е застрахован. Първа стъпка в решаването на всеки проблем е информацията, нашата собствена информираност. Трябва да говорим, да обменяме тази информация, да споделяме опит. Днешното събитие е ценно именно защото ще се превърне в платформа за обмяна на добри практики и на добри идеи. Колегите от Арея 05, Дистрикт 30 имат много какво да споделят от работата си срещу насилието в онлайн пространството. За мен е чест, че под моя патронаж повече от 2 години се провежда този проект. Провежда се различни конференции, проектът се развива. За тези години резултатите ни дават силен стимул да продължаваме напред. Основните ни цели – широка информационна кампания, експертно обучение на доброволци, провеждане на обучителни срещи в цялата страна, препоръки за законодателни промени. Проектът вече работи на национално ниво. Мрежата от доброволци не спира да расте. Включват се и все повече училища и това е изключително радващо, защото става тема на младите хора. Най-важното, доказахме, че успешната формула е в съвместната ни работа. На националните институции, на неправителствения сектор, в чиято работа вярвам изключително много. Успяхме да въвлечем широк кръг от участници в общата ни битка, защото ангажиментът е на всички, от децата, родителите, учителите, до властите на всички нива. Само един пример. Вярвам, че от Арея 05 ще ви споделят още. В Техническия университет в София вече има киберлаборатория, а интересът на студентите към специалност киберсигурност нараства все повече. Ще ми позволите едно предложение. Този уебинар да завърши с обещание за създаване на онлайн платформа, в която всяка страна, представена днес, да попълва с полезна информация в борбата с кибернасилието. Ще се радваме и на добрите предложения и идеи. За финал, мили зонтянки, бъдете горди и уверени. Не спирайте да мечтаете смело, да надскачате себе си, така както правите и до сега, за един по-добър свят. Нека енергията, амбицията и идеите ви увличат още повече съмишленици. На добър час на днешната дискусия.
We are more than proud that the Vice President of Bulgaria stands behind us and our cause and work together with us in accomplishment the goals of the projects. And as she mentioned, they are formed in a board information campaign targeting to vulnerable groups, expert training of volunteers, holding training meetings across the country, and proposing recommendation of legislation changes. When we began working on the project in 2021, we prepared the participation of the partners and officially launched the project of June 8, 2021. Ms. Ileana Yotova also attended the meeting and laid out our goals and how we will be develop the project. In October 2021, we held a massive information campaign in schools, NGOs, universities. Later in the month of first expert training by the Chief Director of Combating Organized Crime was indeed a fact. From November 2021 until March 2022, those same educated volunteers create a chain of trainings, and volunteers grow from 500 in November 2021 to nearly 2,000 in April 2022. On April 15, 2022, we held a closing conference attended by the patron of the project or main partners from the Chief Directory of Combating Organized Crime, other partners and volunteers. The conference reported on the work and results of the project and included useful and interesting panel discussion of the topic of cyber violence. The most active volunteers were awarded, but we don't stop with there. On June 11, 2022, one of Area 05 Zonta Club Sofia, held its annual Yellow Rose Bowl, where funds were raised. As an agreement with Technical University was signed earlier on, and funds raised during the bowl, thanks to the generous donors, more than 20,000 euro, 40,000 euro, were collected for the opening of cybersecurity lab in the university. In September 2021, a major degree in cybersecurity was launched in the university, which enjoyed great success and is one of the most preferred by the student candidates. In November 2022, parallel to the 16 Days of Activism campaign, we held a lot of educational sessions on topic of cyber violence in different schools across the country. On December 2nd, 2022, the Vice President welcomed us on our project partners for a meeting at the Presidency, where we discussed the next step. The Cybersecurity Lab of Technical University in Sofia was officially opened in May 13, 2023, making it the first of its kind in Bulgaria. So, what comes next? Now, November 1st, 2023, we will have a panel of meeting with students at Technical University in Sofia on the topic of digital literacy and cyber security. And from November through March, we will again hold a wild awareness campaign with trainings of volunteers, students, and NGOs from all over the country on the topic of cyber violence. So from that you heard until now, you may wonder how we managed to get so many people and volunteers. Here you can see the chain we created. We began with the Zonta Club members, partners, and volunteers who with the word to more and more people, reaching more and more volunteers. Thus, we almost covered with whole country, excluding 2 regions, which we will, of course, work on it in the future. The most important training and undoubtedly was the initial one, led by our main partners, the expert from Chief Directorate of Combat Organized Crime. Afterwards, we had the resources and information needed to conduct as many training sessions as possible in a different organization and businesses, NGOs, high school, universities, municipalities. We also trained the Bulgarian Union of Teachers, the regional manager of education in Sofia, the Bulgarian Youth Red Cross, and many others organizations. We managed to train more than 350 students from leading high school age 15 to 17 years old. Those students become volunteers and trained young students from their school age 12, 15 years old who are also at high risk of becoming victim of cyber violence. We always did survey before and after each training, and evidence we got positive feedback that made us work even harder. Before our trainings, 80% of the people we asked claim they have never been educated on this important topic, and as a result, 65% do not know how to react if they become victim of violence online. As you can see, after our training, 100% of respondents rated our trainings as being useful for them, and 92% of them expressed a readiness to share what they learned and become educator themselves. This how important being informed of the topic actually is in order to achieve prevention and have adequate coping mechanism if you become a victim of cyber violence. A very important element of project was publicity and promotion. The recruit volunteers and partners. Our media partner for all these proposals became Nova National TV, which was one of the most watched channel in Bulgaria, and we broadcasted a video on a national air. We distribute leaflets, held press conference, wrote PR materials, and had a high activity on social networks. We also aired a clip of Sofia subway, which is used by about 350,000 people every day. I would like to share with you the project's promotional video and aired on national television. Let's see the video.
Всяка година жертвите на онлайн посегателствата стават все повече. Нека с общи усилия се противопоставим на кибернасилието във всичките му форми. Зонта България организира кампания за борба срещу кибернасилието над жени и деца. Бъди защитник, стани доброволец.
Yes, and I will also share with you the project's promotional video and we broadcasted in Sofia subway. Yes, this is another video. Yes, and this promotional campaign resulted in reaching a total of more than 6 million people across the country, which we are more than proud of. What is the next step? The next goals we set for our project is to make it sustainable, as innovative as possible, and to achieve the needed legislative changes when it comes to prevention, protection, and prosecution of cyber crimes. Here is how we plan to achieve these goals. For sustainability, we plan to expand the network with volunteers in order to strengthen prevention and include more countries in order to develop the project at the international level. In order to innovative, we are really keen on creating the earlier mentioned digital platform of cyber violence and safety online. When it comes to the law, we will work in recommendations we have submitted during the closing conference in April 2022. The recommendation is submitting concerned measures for prevention, protection, and effective prosecution of cyber crimes. As I already mentioned, we submitted them to the Member of Parliament during the conference, but due to the lack of a parliament government in Bulgaria for the past 2 years, we were working with the government on the implementation of recommendations from here on now, and there are a coming meeting in order to do that. Zonta calls on all active citizens join us. Say no to violence in all its forms. Let's hear the voice of ladies. It was the voice of Bulgarian ladies from Zonta Club Sofia. Thank you very much for your attention. I would be very happy to work together with all of you on this next step of the project, and as Ms. Yotova emphasized, to build together this important international digital platform for the exchange of practices of different countries, information, advice, and resources on the topic of cyber violence. Thank you. And now I want to introduce our main partner in the project, the expert from Chief Department of Combating Organized Crime, Commissioner Vladimir Dimitrov, Head of Bulgarian Cyber Crime Unit at the General Director of Combating Organized Crime in the Ministry of Interior and National Cybercrime Coordinator of Bulgaria. Thank you so much for you join us today. I'm sure everything you share will be very helpful to all of us and your viewers. I give you the word to you now, Ms. Dimitrov, Mr. Dimitrov. Okay.
Hi, hello everyone. I hope you hear me well. Do you hear me?
Yes, everything's okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Greetings to everyone from Sofia, Bulgaria. My name is Vladimir Dimitrov, and I'm a senior commissioner, head of the Bulgarian Cybercrime Unit. Formally, we are a Cybercrime Directorate within the General Directorate of Countering Organized Crime within the Ministry of Interior, which is kind of Bulgarian FBI. I'm a police officer for the last 20 years, and for the last 14, I am dealing with a large variety of cybercrimes. For the last 3 years, I'm leading the Cybercrime Directorate. We are like 70 police officers right now within the Cybercrime Directorate, and we are trying to deal with 15 plus cyber and cyber-related crimes. We're responsible for the whole country of Bulgaria, and then we work a lot with international partners, mainly with FBI from USA, which is a world leader when it comes to fighting cybercrime. I want to share for a few minutes with you which are the biggest problems for us right now when it comes to fighting cybercrime. In our country, number one problem for us is internet fraud, which we call business email compromise. This is the English term developed by FBI like 20 years ago. In Bulgaria, we call this crime changed IBAN, and it's all about Nigerian organized criminal groups who will trick Bulgarian companies to send their money not to their counterpart, but to another bank account controlled by money mules. A lot of problems in our country, and not only Bulgaria, but it's a huge problem for the whole world and the European Union, as well as the so-called investment frauds, where we have mainly German and Austrian citizens which are tricked from call centers to invest their money in the brand new platforms where they're tricked that they will invest in crypto and in stock companies, and at the end we have victims losing like 50,000 euro, 100,000 euro. And again, the call centers, they are located in Balkan countries like Bulgaria, Moldova, but not only. Some of the call centers, they are located in Belarus, Kazakhstan, Ukraine as well. We have a small team dealing with intellectual property rights as well, and a small team dealing with computer forensics, because we have a lot of cases where a cell phone or a computer is seized and we have to do a computer check and produce a computer forensic report. 5-6 months ago, we were transferred. Our stuff was doubled, and we were transformed from a small department within the Bulgarian FBI, the General Directorate of Countering Organized Crime, and we were transformed into the Directorate, and that was the first time when we started special section to fight crimes against children in the internet. So we have right now 11 police officers, let's say, arresting pedophiles. That this is their main job. And we have a special software developed by our friends from FBI, from Europol and Interpol. We have a few platforms, and some of the platforms that were developed with experts from our unit. And with this special software, we can see which Bulgarian IP address is downloading child porn, because a lot of the pedophiles, let's say 99% of them, they will go online, they will use software, special software. A lot of them, they use email. It's a email torrent tracker agent. And this is how they will go and search for child porn content, and they will download and distribute and spread this abusive material, images and videos of kids being raped. So with this special software, we try to see which Bulgarian IP address is downloading child porn. Every day we have more than 500 unique Bulgarian IP addresses downloading child porn. And again, the pedophiles, 99% of them, they will download child porn and use it for their own purpose. Unfortunately, small percent, like 1% of the pedophiles in not only Bulgaria, I'm just generally speaking, they will go and try to speak with kids online. Less than 1%, again, from the old pedophiles which are downloading child porn, they will go and open fake Facebook account, they will go and open a fake Instagram account, or they will open an account where the kids are playing or where the kids are speaking. So they will pretend that they're like, if the victim is 13 years old, they will pretend that they're 15 years old, and they will speak with the kids. They will start a chat, and they will say, I have the same problems like you. I had my parents, they don't want to buy me the new iPhone. They don't want to give me money for this or that. And this is how they will get closer with the kid, mentally, let's say. And everything will start with the innocent asking for, can you please send me picture of your new shoes or your new laptop. And then they will continue to ask kids to send picture with like a new, let's say, new dress. And at the end, the kid will be not smart enough to send, let's say, provocative picture. And then the pedophiles, they will use this against the children, against the kid, and they will say, if you don't start doing this, I will send this picture to your friends, to your school, to your parents. And this is how all starts for our victims. We have almost every week or every 2 weeks, one victim, which was a victim of a crime, which I'm trying to explain. I mean, they will communicate with fake account, and there will be a pedophile behind this nickname, behind this profile. And then the pedophile will ask the kid to do awful things for the last 7 months with their body. When they get enough of this specific kid, the pedophiles, they will ask the kid to go and ask a friend or a friend from school to come and to continue to do what the pedophile is asking. So 1% of the pedophiles who want to chat with the kids and ask them for naked pictures and then extort them for more and more. Again, small percent of them, but less than 1% of those, they are ready to go and meet kids physically, like the case which you show us with the 14 years old kid, which was murdered. So hopefully we don't have a lot of cases like this where a pedophile is ready to connect with the kid and meet them in person. And this is why I want to thank Zonta Bulgaria and specifically Bistra because of her passion with the program. Me and Bistra specifically, we visited numerous of Bulgarian schools. We spoke with a lot of kids. We try to spread the good word, and we try to educate kids, and not only kids, teachers, parents, but we are focusing on the kids, and we want to give them the main advices, how they have to be extremely careful when they speak with account which they are not sure which is running it. And then a lot of the cyberbullying and cyber crimes against children, they're happening internally. I mean, kids in their school, they have their Viber or WhatsApp closed groups where they communicate, and a lot of the cyberbullying is happening there. This is why we ask kids to first not take provocative pictures or naked pictures. Second, if they see something bad, to speak with their parents, because a lot of the problems which we see are coming from the, let's say, bad home scene. I mean, a lot of the victims are kids who are victim of a pedophile. They don't speak with their parents, or they have other relatives who are taking care about them. Father and the mother, they are divorced, or they live in another country. So again, I want to thank Zonta Bulgaria for their passion in this job. Sometimes when we visit schools, we use one video provided by the US NGO NACMAC, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And let me try to share my screen so I can play the video for you. Can you see my screen?
It's just loading, I think, at the moment.
Do you see my screen?
We cannot see it yet. I think it's the connection, maybe.
Yeah, maybe it's the slow connection. Yeah, try to share.
It says you're starting to share the screen, but it just doesn't show anything yet.
It's the slow connection, sorry.
Mhm.
Can you see my screen? Beautiful sunset.
No, nothing.
Okay, sorry, slow connection.
Yeah, no problem. If you can send it in the chat, I can share it.
Yeah, I will try to send it in the chat in a few
Yeah.
minutes. So this was from my side. I'm ready to answer all your questions. Again, thank you, Zonta. Thank you, Bistra.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, for your contribution and for your work. And the project that was presented by the Area 05 in Bulgaria is just fantastic. So I thought it's really worth it sharing it with everybody. And we have a suggestion already from Bistra and from Bulgaria to share a platform. And so it's very good that we heard about it, and well, let's do it. But now we would like to have a few questions come in.
Yes, feel free to ask the questions in the Q&A section, and we will also launch the poll now. So if you could just give your feedback, it would be very valuable for us. So everyone's supposed to see it on their screens. It's just a couple of questions, not much. And feel free to ask us in the Q&A or in the chat if it's easier for you, whenever.
So please fill that out. And in the meantime, I would like to thank everybody who was a panelist in this webinar. I would like to thank the panelists, the translators, and the technicians. Thank you very much for your good and very hard work, and some of them extremely last minute. So really a big, big thanks. And also for our governor, Ivana Sarotto, to have attended, as I saw in the list of attendees. And also thanks to what I call my team of advocacy representatives of District 30, Sabine, Bistra, Nadia, and Marlene, who all supported this project and who made a very good job of it. So thank you so much. And in the end, I would like to ask Eva to project the PDF document that I found that is issued from Europol about 10 very important recommendations to prevent cybercrime for yourself and for your family. So I give the floor now to Eva, maybe, if you can summarize what has been coming in the chat, and asked for the survey, the results of the survey.
Yes, of course. Can you see the infographic? I hope so. With the
Yes.
tips? Okay,
Yes,
okay.
it works perfectly fine.
Thank you. Okay, so far in the chat, we have great work from the Bulgarian Zontians. Bravo for Marlene. And then Sabine, she sent also some useful files in the chat, so you can go ahead and download them and check them out when you have more time, because it was quite a lot of information right now. So maybe everyone is still soaking in, I suppose. And with the poll, we have 10 out of 15 people filled out so far. So we have 4 people from Switzerland, 1 from Germany, 1 from France, 2 from Bulgaria, and 2 from Italy, who listen to the different languages. 8 of them find the webinar useful, and 8 of them learned new things. So that's great. And almost all of them, 9 people, would like to know more on the topic, so would be interested in future webinars like this one. And I think we also have something in the Q&A, but it is in French. So I don't know
Yes,
if...
they're asking where we could make these videos available so that they can transmit them to the Zontians. So the videos and also the recording of this webinar.
Oh, the recording, we will send it tomorrow with all of the information and presentation, all the files we spoke about as well.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much. So really great. I'm extremely happy that we had this quality of webinar, and thanks to everybody, and good night, and see you in the next webinar, please.
Thank you, Annette. Thank you very much, and good night for everybody. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night to everyone. Милка вдигна ръка и може би иска да се включи с нещо, не знам.
Милче, искаш ли да кажеш нещо?
So how was it for the translator? I mean, are they still alive?
I'll just stop it. Let me just stop the